You, it's good. That was absolutely wonderful, and that was the beautiful music of Daniel Namod. But of course, we started with the song "Way Up," which is written by our own Kim Char Meredith. And today, Michael's and my message is called "Way Up." So last week, I mentioned when I was doing announcements that we had just flown back in from Peru, and I said, "Boy, our arms," and you guys all laughed at us. It's really, you just condescending to laugh at that. But we are here now to talk a little bit about the idea of this trip that we took to Peru. Before I do that, I just want to really acknowledge the wonders of technology. Yay! Thank you, Parker! I just really wanted to acknowledge one person who is here who happens to have a really special moment, and that is our own Beth Schwartz, who used to be a board president. She's been a real pillar in our church, and this morning she's the proud grandma of Eloise Ann Schwartz. Yay! A new soul, a new beautiful soul. Anyway, it was really funny when Reverend Kitty contacted Michael and I and said that she'd like some downtime and we'd be willing to speak this Sunday. We thought, give a minister a mic with about 1,000 slides of their recent trip and a captive audience. Woohoo! So figure, strap in, we'll be here a while. No, I'm just kidding. In fact, I really also want to put a shout out to our wonderful Danette Harris, because Danette is the person who works with us on slides, and she really is one of those people that works right up to the 11th hour to try to, help us with this whole thing. What Michael and I do, though, is wherever we go, we know there we are. And therefore, it isn't just about taking trips, going places. It's about what do we gain from the trips that we take. And pretty much these days, when Michael and I work with anything in our life, the good, the bad, and the other, we're always putting it through the filter of not only new thought and unity, but also quantum physics, because that's an area of study that we're very interested in right now. So we wanted to bring some of that in. Hopefully that will come through the message we have today. So the background on this trip was that this is our 30th anniversary. Yay! And, Michael and I are, we're townies, we're foodies, we're comfortable people. So, we always figured, well, we'd be taking like one of those river cruises down the Rhine, and you get off and they feed you a little bit of, charcuterie and some wine, and you get back on the boat and you just kind of hang out. But last October, we went to Unity Village for an annual conference that we attend. And a woman by a fabulous musician and tour director who does a program called Sacred Tours, and she does all over the world, named Cerise Patron. And Cerise is almost a minister now, too, in religious science, and was a music director for one of the religious science ministers there. And she and Daniel Namod, and many of you know Daniel Namod, I think most of us do. He's fabulous. And if you don't know Daniel Namod, you just sang 2 of his songs today, 2 of the many, many, many songs. He's a very prolific writer, and now he does a lot of workshops. And he teamed up with Cerise Patron. Having done the trip that we were going to do himself, he knew what we were getting into. So they talked about this trip back in October last year. And there, how when something speaks to you in your heart, even though you don't know why you're saying yes, you got to say yes to it, right? And so we mulled it around through the whole week. And by the end of the week, right before we got in our car to leave, we said, we're doing it. And so we put down our down payment, and we took off, and we thought, this is going to be great. So, I've always loved anthropology. Actually, I was an anthropology major for like a semester. So I'm like, okay, I like archaeology and, the archaeological sites and all that kind of stuff. But I never really thought I'd ever really be walking in some of the really, really oldest in the entire planet. So this was pretty cool. You know, it sounded really good. And so along the way, we got 7 months to, get into this. But during the 7 months, we learned a whole lot about what was going to happen here. We had to have a special size luggage. We had to have a backpack. We had to have a whole list of things. We had to learn about how coca leaves and Muna tea will help us with the altitude issues, going over 12,000 feet. Yeah. And also we were going all the way down to 2 degrees off the equator, where 90 degrees is also 98 degrees humidity, and everything in between, because this was a 19-day trip all over Peru. So, the other thing they also told us we needed to have was a couple of types of pajamas, warm pajamas for when it's hot. And for when it's cool, and hot pajamas for when it's hot. And the reason you need those is because Peru is in the Ring of Fire, and they have earthquakes a lot. And so you don't want to be running out and you're all together in the middle of an earthquake. No lie, you go everywhere in Peru, and they actually have pillars and the stations inside and outside of buildings that have an S on them, which means in the event of an earthquake, go here. So that was kind of a little interesting. But so anyway, we continued to pursue this, and we got closer and closer. And one of the things we realized is that travel changes you. And choosing to travel is choosing to change. Unless you just kind of stay in the same environment with the same kind of everything, you're going to have to make some changes. Anybody travel, you know what I'm talking about? It even changes you just trying to figure out how to pack and how to get through it together, without dissolving the trip. So anyway, but what we do when we travel, it initiates change. We bring it to us. We want change. The thing about it that we've really realized, because we spend a lot of time reflecting on what we went through, not just going through it, but what Michael and I realized is, no matter where you go, there you are. And so it isn't just about the fact that the travel will change us. It's about the fact that we can initiate change for the better at any time in our lives. And I'm not just talking about our trip now, I'm talking to all of us. And the thing about change, if you haven't noticed, they always say nobody likes change except wet babies. I know you've heard that before. But, when we are going to change in any way, shape, or at depth, and I know some of us in the room are going through some changes at depth, it doesn't feel comfortable, right? There's a discomfort to it. So the thing about travel is it kind of makes you have to go through it. Whereas when you're at your home and you're doing your regular life, to change on your own accord takes a lot of courage. So if that's what you're going through, my hat's off to you, because it isn't an easy thing to do. And it does require discomfort to break a habit to create a new one. So anyway, along the way, we had to think about it. And there was a lot of things going on in those 7 months between the time that we decided to go on this trip and actually take it. A lot was going on in the world. Remember, there was an election right around there. And then there's a new administration and a whole new feeling about the world that was going on. And so from a political standpoint, there was even times, Michael, I thought, should we really do this? And so we thought about that. We thought about all kinds of reasons, financial reasons. There were some life situations, family things going on. You guys know what I'm talking about. You plan life, God laughs, right? So here we are with our plans in place. And there were many, many times we were just about to back out. Now, I'm reiterating back to the idea of initiating change in any way, shape, or form. Have you ever noticed how many times when you set an intention, you want to back out of it because the going gets tough? It even got so tough that about 3 weeks before we left, my back went out, my hip went out, and I went to the endodontist, and he said, you need to have an emergency root canal. I'm like, what? This isn't in the script. So anyway, I didn't have to have it until I got back. Mark Twain, I love Mark Twain. He weaves into this. He was quite a traveler. And he made a statement that 25 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. And so we went. So Daniel had done this trip before as a participant, so he really knew what we were getting into in these 19 days that we went. He was one of our tour guides, and he was also one of our workshop leaders, and he was the intention setter for us through a lot of this, and he's wonderful at doing that. So when we all got together, there was 19 of us, strangers. We had met on Zoom just a little bit, and we didn't really know each other, and now we're going to trek all over Peru together, But it was the most amazing group of people, starting as strangers and becoming some of what will probably be some of our closest friends now. But we didn't know it then. We were all new to this. And one of the first things that Daniel said to us is, "Why are you here?" That can sound like a kind of an innocuous question, but it can also be a real existential opening to a new portal in yourself. That question, "Why are you here?" doesn't want to be asked lightly. I'm saying it to all of us sitting here in this room today. I'm saying it to all of us who are in New Thought today. I'm saying it to all of us who are a part of an evolutionary change of spiritual consciousness that is the New Thought movement, of which I believe unity is the green growing edge of that movement. And that's all of us. So, you might want to spend some time over the next week or so thinking, God, why am I here? Just even in our lives, why are we here? What is it we came here to be? What is it we came here to give? And what is it we came here to receive? So that was the burning, yearning question that actually hung out for a long period of this trip that we took. Then Daniel paraphrased, and here's how Mark Twain plays in again. It's funny, Mark Twain came in a lot for us because whenever Michael and I travel to Unity Village, funnily enough, we tend to spend the night halfway in Hannibal, Missouri, which is where Mark Twain was born and raised. We've even been in the Mark Twain cave, and if you guys haven't done that, it just kind of gets the spelunker in you going, to go down in the cave where he went. But Mark Twain made this statement. He said, travel, and this is a slide actually, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. So speaking about the idea of quantum physics, one of the principles of quantum physics that's really inspiring to me is that the universe, and this is a slide, the universe appears to be a thoroughly interconnected whole. Inseparability implies that we are an integral part of everything and everyone, and this understanding showers us with meaning, purpose, and connectedness. It's also the foundation of what they call in quantum physics entanglement, how we are entangled with each other, not by connection, just physical connection, because in quantum physics, distance is not a dimension. So across the universe, there's entanglement. We have entanglement this morning, which she didn't even want me to mention, but we have a wonderful entanglement with Jen Chada, who was the first music director that Michael and I had back in 2006, and she was our music director when we were pastors here in this area. And it was Jen's house we stayed in when we first were coming here and didn't have a place to live yet. We had one caveat, though. We had to feed and take care of the guinea pig named Honey. Yeah, it was really cool. And that was when we heard her voice and we went, oh my God, she had us at that first hello. I know you didn't want to hear that, but it's true. Anyway, Mark Twain went on with that elaborated quote. He said, broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. And again, let's take that into perspective. We're not just talking about geography. We're talking about ideas, new ideas, expanding ideas that we can move into when we let the walls of our own confinement and limitation fall away, which is what we're invited to do here, have you noticed, almost every Sunday by our wonderful Reverend Kitty. They always say that ministers are here to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. So you guys get to figure out which you are on any given Sunday. So again, why are we here? Well, it begs that conscious content reflection. And for those 19 of us travelers, as we started as a group of strangers, we together and our 5 Peruvian guides and Daniel and Cerise, we actually did this 19-day trip with 2 car trips, 15 bus rides, 2 train rides, that was up to Machu Picchu, 7 plane trips, and 3 high-speed boat rides across the Amazon River, which was really pretty exciting. We went about over 12,000 feet, and we went all the way down to the equator. We went everywhere, and I have to tell you, it was so rigorous. More rigorous than I could have even imagined. And I did it, and Michael did it. One of those things where you get through something like that, you feel, wow, I can just feel kind of like pat myself on the back, yeah. And so travel can also bring out the best and the worst in us, right? Because, circumstances don't create us, they reveal us. So in travel, be aware, you're going to be revealed. And in change, we're revealed by what we discover. What are the resistances that we feel when we're trying to change? And we can't always change conditions. Have you noticed? In your own life, you can't always change conditions or circumstances. But what we've learned here in these walls in unity through Reverend Kitty so many times helping us know this, what we can always do is change our mind about them. So we came back and we thought about, what have we gotten out of this? And Michael's going to speak to some of our vignettes in a minute. But what we realized is we came away being a little bit different people. And for the better, actually. We have become a little more mindful because being in a completely different country where we did not speak the language and we had to rely on other people and we did feel vulnerability and we had to learn their culture and their ways in order to integrate with them. But there was such a lovely kindness there. And we learned to be more patient. We've learned to go with the flow. We had to. There was no possibility. We couldn't go with the flow. And we had to learn to be really flexible, letting go of what we thought things ought to be so that they could be everything they were being, so we could be present to that. We also learned cultivating curiosity rather than dismay is a really good attribute. And we also learned, most importantly of all, the same lesson we're all learning in life, which is TTP. Trust the process. And so now to speak to that, it's my wonderful husband, Michael Spear. Reverend Michael, come on up.
I'm not going to use that. No. Thank you. I hope you don't. I'm used to grabbing on because when we spent 2.5 weeks kind of going up some treacherous terrains, if you will. Not that treacherous, though. We're still here, though. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So good to see you all today. So, that picture you're looking at actually is a real picture. We took that in the first morning when we went up to Machu Picchu, and we went up there to see the sunrise, except you don't see the sunrise, right? It was rainy and foggy, very rainy, very wet. We had, I don't know if there's any pictures in there, but we had rain gear on, basically, so we looked like, you ever wear those funny rain ponchos like you get at Disneyland? Yeah, something like that. But today we really wanted to, as Mary Beth said, this isn't about us doing a travel log. There's pieces of that in here, and it's interesting, it's fun. But we're more interested to share what we've been going through, not only during the time we were there, looking at what we were experiencing, and so to say, easy way to put dealing with my stuff. She probably dealt with some of hers too. But that's what relationships are about, right? And all the experiences we have, dealing with how we're experiencing them. As Mary Beth mentioned, it's not about the experiences going on out there, the conditions, because they are there, right? They're there in the world today. They're there in our life. They're there with our family. It's about how we experience them and what we take away from them. And I was transformed by this trip. I realized that I've come back, I'll say, a more patient person, a gentler person, I think, kinder, but still, and it took me a while to get my feet on the ground. I'm not sure they're even there yet, so if I float off somewhere, pull me back down. Could we go to the first slide, Cindy? Thank you. So embracing uncertainty. Very important concept in quantum physics, and this is from Mel Schwartz from the possibility principle. He says that uncertainty is the fabric of the quantum world. This principle has vast applications in our lives, and we should view it as good news. Anyone feel good news about uncertainty? Okay, that's why I'm going to keep saying it. Say it with me. Uncertainty is good. Welcoming uncertainty frees us from the severely constrained existence which the mechanistic template, and that's Newtonian physics that we've all grown up with and we're used to, okay, imprisons us. Think of uncertainty as the wind in our sails. It empowers us towards the lives we seek, and uncertainty is where new possibilities lie. And I'll tell you, as we went into this, and Mary Beth spoke to this a bit, I had a lot of uncertainty. I certainly had a lot of uncertainty. I certainly did. No question about it. And was I trusting in spirit? Because that kind of links together, right? If I want to move past the uncertainty, I have to come back to that understanding that we're inseparable. We're one with spirit. We're one with the quantum field. We're one with God, whatever word you want to use it. That I'm not separate from it, and I can trust in it. I can trust that I'm provided for. But I had uncertainty all the way to making sure I packed everything and anything to take with me, including a first aid kit, including rain parkas. Even they told us we'd have them down there. We took them along. Snake bite kit, which fortunately never got touched. Had no need for it. And it goes on from there. The survival tools, in case we ended up getting lost in the Amazon, would I even know how to use a snake bite kit, right? So, but we had none of that stuff going on, but I had uncertainty. So this was an opportunity for me to actually practice it, move through it, and embrace, just trust in spirit every step of the way. We'll be provided for. If we go to the first slide, next one. So maybe you've heard that word Pachamama before. And Pachamama is a very real, existent belief and concept down in Peru, dating back to the Incas and even before the Incas, that Pachamama was a goddess of the earth mama, if you will. I like to think of her as Earth Mama. And that picture is really cool because what you're seeing, especially if you look at the bottom, it's kind of weird. It looks like a storefront and a street sign. It really is. That's a mural on the side of a building, probably about 10 or 12 stories high, right in the middle of Miraflores, Peru, right in the center of town. It's quite amazing. But that's the basic energy and concept going on in a lot of Peru. It feels very earthy in many respects, save when you're driving in traffic, but we'll talk about that a little bit. But they're very ecologically aware down there. Napkins, when you go to restaurants, any restaurants, they give you, if you're lucky, you might get one little paper napkin, and that's about it. You can ask for more, but that's about all you get. The other thing, by the way, this is a spoiler alert, is you're not supposed to flush any paper down the toilets. Any paper, toilet paper included. So you can figure that one out, but it makes for an interesting trip. I tried it when we got back home. Mary Beth wasn't happy, so it's an interesting custom anyways. But so it's about taking care of planet Earth. So that was one of my big takeaways here. Not that I'm not aware of it, but it's easy to lull into just how things go here. You know, paper towels, for instance. Take for granted how many paper towels I use and just use it. You know, the handy picker-upper, right? Take it, throw it out, and where does that go after we throw it out? So there's a lot of awareness for us in this about paying attention. Pachamama, take care of Mother Earth. Next slide, please. And again, I'm showing a few slides from just so many slides we had, and the intention is, again, what really sparked things for us inside that we can take and use in our lives, all of us. Love and honor your family and community. There's a few things more important than this. As Mary Beth said, we were a community of about 20 people, a family, 22 of us probably, including Daniel Nahmad and Cerise, our leader, and we had a few other guides that joined us along the way that were local people down there. We all became a family, and it's so important. We supported each other. We took care of each other. We cared about each other. The picture you see on the left is actually, you see those two little stuffed alpacas. What's that? Yeah, llamas. They were llamas. I still am confused between alpacas and llamas, so bear with me on that, okay? But those actually, we carried those. We got those on the first day down there. We carried them throughout the entire journey, and we took lots of pictures of them for our grandkids. And then those were given to the grandkids when we got back. But we sent them pictures along the way, oftentimes holding it off into a horizon somewhere, and then Mary Beth knew how to crop the arm out. So we have floating alpaca llamas all over the place. The second picture is Daniel Namath and me, and that was in a town, I forget if that was Cusco or... Aguas Calientes, and that was right before we went up on to Machu Picchu. So again, so important on this planet for us to take care of each other. And that's a message I know with the political climate we live in this world right now. It sometimes seems to get forgotten about with all the wars and distress and distrust going on throughout the world. Bringing myself back into this now, this helped me to remember that we're one people. We're all one, we're inseparable. Different cultures, different ways of showing up, different ways of thinking, different ways of believing, even some of us in this room. Certainly we go out in the political spectrum, we're all thinking about things differently, but we're all one. And we're here to take care of each other and support and provide for each other. Could we go to the next slide, please? I'll make sure I'm not missing where I'm at here. So, moving through life at your own pace. These are a couple more pictures from Machu Picchu, and live pictures when we were up there. And one thing Mary Beth spoke about was how strenuous it was, and it was strenuous at different degrees. We could choose how strenuous we wanted it, but it was also wet out, it was raining, it was slippery. What I came away with that for me was a reminder, a lot of people there. There were people coming up behind us, around us. I said, hey, move through life at our own pace. I can move through life at my pace. It's been great for me since I got back driving on the highways here, too. Right? Someone wants to go around me, they want to tailgate, they want to go past me, let them go. Go with God, preferably now, right? But we can all move through life at our own pace, and that's what's important. And it helps. So I was able to go slow. I was able to support other people. We're able to support each other and take away whatever I got. I don't have to see every little minute detail. I get what I get. Spirit, this is trusting in spirit for me, that I'm going to see what I need to see when I need to see it. I'm going to know what I need to know when I need to know it. Did you ever use that affirmation before? I always know what I need to know when I need to know it. I'm always in the right place when I need to be there. It takes a lot of pressure off, doesn't it? Knowing that we're each provided for by an infinite, all-knowing source, a quantum field that has all knowledge. Could we go to the next slide, please? Now, this is one of our favorite pictures in a way. What you're seeing over to the right is a herd of sheep. Why am I showing you a herd of sheep? Well, that herd of sheep was crossing in front of one of our tour bus at one point in one of the little towns we were in. Maybe that was Umabamba or Cusco, I'm not sure. And this bus stopped. And, the local tour guide who was driving the bus, no big deal. We just let the sheep go by. And it was a native woman, and she was herding her sheep through, and they passed through. It took 5-10 minutes, and everyone was just kind of calm and peaceful. And we said, well, it's like another day over in DuPage County, right? Let the sheep go by. But the other part of this, though, is the traffic, and I mentioned traffic before. And this was an interesting takeaway. Traffic down there is crazy. Driving is crazy. Because what happens is, especially in these small towns like Cusco and some of the other towns, Lima too, people are driving in and out. And what you're seeing on that are these a lot of motorcycles and these little cars, we call them tut-tuts, I think. And they're also referred to as other things as well. They're basically almost like a motorcycle with two seats sitting behind it and a little shell of a cart that they attach onto, and they're all over the place. What happens is you're driving, and we're in a little tour bus. People are just weaving in and out like this. There's lines on the road, but no one pays attention to them, and there's honking. Everyone's honking each other. They're weaving in and out, almost seemingly crashing into each other. We never saw a single accident, not one. nor did we see anyone yelling at each other. They honked plentifully, like, just don't hit me, go ahead. But that's how woven. It was like a play, it was like a symphony, an intricate play of life moving upon itself, and everyone just moving back and forth effortlessly, but never getting angry enough to yell at each other, let alone flipping anyone the condor. It's a Peru word. Never happened. It's quite amazing. Kindness. Can we express kindness like that for each other, even in the midst of knowing that, well, someone seems to be getting in the way of my good, or someone's threatening me? And how about, I don't think we ever saw any signs for attorneys down there either on the, the billboards. You wonder why? Can we go to the next slide? So having compassion for all people and animals, very big part of this experience for us. You're seeing over on the far left a local artisan and at a place that does a lot of weaving of fabrics. And this is an ancient ancient Inca techniques that they're using, doing it all manually, making beautiful textiles. Watching these people, and that's what they do. They do it as an act of love. That's how they make their living. That middle picture is our tour leader, Patrice Patron, and that's a place called Monkey Island we went to. It is a nonprofit sanctuary that rescues orphaned monkeys. And we had the opportunity to actually walk through this. It happened to be very muddy that day, so they had to put planks down, but there are monkeys running all over the place. And these are baby monkeys that we could actually, if one comes up to you, and then you can't force that. They come running up to you whether you want it or not. They might climb up on you. And they want to be loved. They want to be nurtured because they were orphaned as babies. And they actually rehabilitate them and they release them back out into the wild. And that final picture, what is that? That's a baby alpaca. Now that one is an alpaca, and that's a baby of probably about 4 days old. Quite amazing. Could we go to the next slide? The other place we got to view compassion, and it's just beautiful. How many cat lovers are in the room? Okay, the rest of you could kind of live without them. I understand. The rest of you are dog lovers? Okay, so it's cats or dogs. We've had both. But you can appreciate this. This is a place called Kennedy Park. And Kennedy Park is probably I'd say about 4 or 5 city blocks long, maybe 6 city blocks by about 2 city blocks wide. And it is full of cats, and they respect, honor the cats, and let them wander free. There are little cat houses all over the place. I'm talking like little condominiums with rows of cat houses. And there's food and water out for them, and they just wander around. They wander in the shops around there too, right around there. And it's just quite beautiful. And you find them in most interesting places. Up on the statue, there's a beautiful monastery there. I love the one with the cat laying in the cleanup bin, a little dustpan. Because they're everywhere. They come up on benches when you're sitting there, and it's quite... So again, empathy and compassion for people everywhere. And there's a lot of people in this park, and they all honor and respect. I never saw anyone doing anything abusive. They all honor the cats, they respect them, and it's part of the culture. Next slide, please. Now this was a big takeaway too, expect the unexpected. And you can see off to the right, I talked about Monkey Island before. Well, one of the monkeys took a liking to Mary Beth. And so there's the monkey climbing up on her. It was on her back, climbing up all over, hanging from her with her tail. The monkey was hanging from Mary Beth with its tail. And I had to clarify that a bit. And then the other one is Timor, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which unexpectedly, by the place we were staying, there was a gentleman who actually had rescued that animal as a baby, and we actually were able to go up to it, and the Timor was licking my hand for about 5 minutes. I must taste good, but just quite amazing, unexpected. So in our journey in life, again, when embracing uncertainty, my takeaway on this is I'm embracing uncertainty, but am I willing to expect the unexpected? Am I willing to honor the unexpected in any areas of my life? Am I prepared for that? Next slide. And this is the last slide with some of our pictures, but this is about really embracing new opportunities, exploring and embracing new opportunities, because this is now down in the Amazon rainforest and on the Amazon River. That's what the Amazon River looks like. We were right on a boat when we took that picture. And in the rainforest, that's called the Cebos tree, I think it's called. It's a very, very, very old ancient tree. I mean, we've been in the giant redwoods in the Northern California, and this was equally big and probably bigger. And that's how high it was just amazing. That tree is hundreds of years old. So very amazing, and quite a, there is one more slide I just wanted to show you too. And that's also about trusting the universe. I talked about that earlier. When you have uncertainty, what's the other side of uncertainty? Trust the universe. What else am I going to do, right? Well, this is Mary Beth and I over at a beach in Lima, Peru, in Miraflores. We're right by the beach, and then next to it on the other side is a path that we took, on a very old cobblestone path to get to that beach. Well, what happened is we returned home. It was really nice, great walk. It was wonderful. 4 days after we got back, I don't know if any of you heard on news, there was an earthquake in Peru, in Lima. It was in the Lima area and other areas, including this area, 6.1 earthquake that included landslides. And that path that we were walking on 4 days earlier, that's where the landslide occurred, part of it. The earthquake impacted that whole area. So did the universe put us in the right place at the right time? We knew there could be earthquakes there, but we never experienced one while we were there. But this happened just 3 or 4 days after we got home. The other thing that occurred is when we were getting ready to leave, we had a flight. The flight was all set up to fly home. We were going to fly in via Houston, then go to Houston to O'Hare. Our flight got canceled, the original flight, and they automatically rebooked us another other flight, which was not too good, not very good seats. It's a long flight. We're traveling for, 11 hours in total or something. So we said, well, I was kind of getting a little bit trying to control things. Anyone like to control things now and then? Especially when I'm traveling, because I traveled a lot in my life. And I'm on the phone with the airlines not getting my way. So Mary Beth said, why don't we talk to Cerise, our tour director? She can probably help. So I did. We talked to Cerise, and she got it all worked out. She got us another flight, a later flight, and in the process, we said, do you mind flying a day later? And I'll give you an extra night of room. We said, well, sure, we could do that. So we stayed an extra night. We got to go out the next day and play and have a lovely day. It was the day we went down to the beach. And what happened is all the people that managed to get onto that flight, which we were kind of upset about because they worked their way in and got on that flight, they were trapped in Houston because there was weather down in Houston, so they sat in the airport for hours upon hours. Trust the universe. So I encapsulate that. Could we go to the next slide, please? Just to stay patient and enjoy your journey. Isn't that a good way to think about doing life? Stay patient, enjoy the journey, because things can happen. They're going to happen. It's a given that things can change around us. But what doesn't change is how I view the things around us. When I say it doesn't change, it will change based on my consciousness. But once I set that consciousness, it may take me a moment to decide, do I want to name this good? Do I want to name this situation bad? Or do I want to flow with it? And what my big takeaway from this trip was, much easier to flow with it, and things do work out. Last quote from Mark Twain, that 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than the ones you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover in every area of your life, because it's all God anyways. So I'd like you to join me in meditation as we bring some of these ideas in. And I just invite you to get comfortable right where you are. And you may want to take a nice deep breath to just breathe in and release and relax into this now moment, because your power and my power is in this now moment. When I choose to just acknowledge and accept my oneness with this universe, that there truly is no separation. There's only one mind, one power, one presence. And as Daniel Nahmad says in his song, God is every mountain. God is every ocean. God is every canyon, each inch of earth and sky. God is every morning. God is every midnight. God is every moment, every second of my life. God is every sunrise. God is every moon glow. God is every starshine, every inch of earth and sky. God is every springtime. God is every snowfall. God is every season, every second of my life. So I take all these knowingnesses that I have talked about today into my heart, knowing that truly God is and I am. God is everything. It's all God. It's all spirit. It's all this quantum field of infinite possibilities. So this morning, I allow myself to be present to all the infinite possibilities in my life. Those that I'm aware of, those that I'm not yet aware of, those that are coming forth. I am open and receptive to God's living spirit of truth moving through me today. I allow myself to be receptive. I allow myself to be willing. To take this thing called life as a great adventure. That whatever is going on in my life right now, even those things that may not seem like that which I desire, to know that there is that within me, the expression of spirit which I am, that is ready to fulfill my every desire. Why am I here? Why am I here? I allow myself to be present to that question, knowing that there is an answer deep within, that the infinite intelligence of this universe knows how to guide me, to lead me, to provide for me, to protect me, to support me in each and every way. I honor this beautiful planet and all the people on it, the animals, the plants, everything that lives on this planet I honor and revere. And I honor and revere my family, my community, and all the people in my life. Knowing that God is good all the time. I embrace this, I accept it, and I let it be mine now, because that is the truth of my being. I am spirit in expression, each and every moment, all the time. For this I give great thanks. I say thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, One Power. Thank you, Divine Mind. Knowing that this is complete and fulfilled already for me and for each and every one of us, I now release this word and let it be so by saying, and so it is.